Tell me what it is you believe in more, the powers of fate or the reality of science. Arcane Season 2 has got to be some of the best writing I've ever seen from media of all time. And I'll tell you why. Before we go into it, spoilers for Arcane Season 1 and 2, obviously. The looks, the feeling, the attention to detail, the characters, the music, the story are all things that this show exceeds in and perfects. This show is honestly past using the word peak. It's something more. Hey Jarvis.
Yes, sir?
Give me similes for using the word peak.
Running similes for the word peak. There's apogee.
Apogee. Yeah. We'll use that. This show is the apogee of storytelling. Victor and Jayce are literally me and bro. If instead of exploring each other's bodies in the back of class, we locked in, became... Instead of exploring each other's bodies in the back of class, we locked in, became scientists, made revolutionary tech, then one of us became disillusioned with the power we had, and so we fought to the death, where the only reason it ended was because of some random kid from the slums who threw a fucking pipe bomb in my bro's face. So yeah, if you can't tell, this video will be focused on Jayce and Viktor and their story, or should I say, renowned scientist and the man that turned into a god but still couldn't understand workplace flirting.
No! That can't!
In short, it's a tale of two men of completely different backgrounds brought together by a common interest. And that interest was the greater good, trying to help the everyday person, and despite the fact that Jayce and Viktor were brought up on complete opposite sides of the pond, literally, their camaraderie and brotherhood is a testament to what can happen if you give someone a chance to take a gamble and risk everything for what you believe is right. So, I'll ask you again, what do you believe in? Fate or science? The characters of Jayce and Viktor reflect each side this question poses evidently. Jayce is a character who believes in fate. Him and his mother being saved by the mage was fate. It happened because there was some other driving force that had a bigger plan for him. And there was, but not the kind that he was really expecting. But he is a believer in fate, and that drives him towards all his goals. His goals of being an accomplished scientist and student to Heimerdinger, a visionary for science, which is what Piltover prides itself on being. So, because of this external belief, Jayce works as hard as he possibly can to try and create something with science that rejects science and that ideology entirely. Magic. The very idea of fate in itself as a concept is the closest that we normal people can get to modern day magic. The beliefs of fate and destiny are inherently magic. I mean, just look at what the actual definition of the term magic means. The power of apparently influencing events by using mysterious or supernatural forces. Jayce believes he was chosen to bring to Piltover and to the world the Arcane. Woo! Name of the show, everyone. Let's wrap it up. But in a controlled form that is for the betterment of mankind. Jayce's mother even says that this is something he has been obsessed with ever since her life was saved. It's been the only thing he's ever wanted. But he gets shut down.
I move that Jayce be summarily expelled from the academy and remanded to the care of his parents.
And so there's nothing to live for anymore. This was his life. That's when fate steps in again and brings to Jayce Viktor. And you can believe it's fate again because it happens right as Jayce is about to walk off a very commendable height.
Am I interrupting?
Just a second later and he wouldn't even be here. Then, Viktor offers to Jayce a second chance at Hextech and trying to realise his inventions to the world. Not only just to help Jayce, but because Viktor wants to be something more than just Heimerdinger's assistant for the rest of his life. Now, let's talk about Viktor. Viktor, in the beginning, is a man who exists solely for the purpose of science. His mentor Singer taught him all about it. He studied at the academy. He is Heimerdinger's second in command, and now he's partners with Jayce. His very first contribution to Hextech is altering the scientific calculations to make it work. This is how Viktor thinks, in scientific calculations. Whilst the both of them are brilliant scientists, without Viktor, Hextech wouldn't even exist. Then, after he gets fused with the infected Hextech and he tells Jayce,
our paths diverged long ago. It was affection that held us together.
Which, whilst hurtful and untrue, is a cold calculation by Viktor to shut Jayce off. But does it work? Fuck no! Jayce Jayce doesn't believe anymore. He knows that fate brought them together and they will do this dance forever. The man literally carried you through a building whilst you were dying, disregarded your final wish to save your life, and left the hottest woman in Piltover in her bed all alone, bro. Oh my god. Don't worry, Jayce. I got Mel. That is more than fate. I believe that is love. They are partners, yes, but more so, they are brothers. And when Viktor shuts out Jayce and goes off, I can only imagine how that feels.
To cling to principles while your best friend bleeds out in your arms. I never asked for this!
Goodbye, Jayce.
And as the season goes on, we see what happens with Hextech, and we get to experience both what would happen without Jayce and Hextech existing and what we think is an absolute future. But being shown this reality causes Jayce to say, fuck you, I'm going to rewrite this whole story, I'm going to go back, and I'm going to save the whole fucking world.
Send me back.
And then we get this review.
Why did you ever give me this?
What the fuck? So now Jayce's job is a million times harder. He's got to stop the most important person in the world to him, because that same person from the future told him he has to do so, and that he can stop what's coming, and that his future won't end up like this. That is destiny, that is fate, and that is magic. Because this Viktor can't figure out why it's just Jayce that can stop this coming future. There's no science for it, there's no physics or chemistry. Not that kind, at least. The only conceivable reason behind it is that it's fate that brought these two together so that they can end this together. Sure, it was orchestrated by Viktor, but that driving force that he can't even conceive as to why it's just Jayce that can stop this. That's fate. Antichrist Viktor, despite all his power, can't see into the future. And when he gets a glimpse and knows it's himself who sends Jayce back, realizes what he has to do.
In all timelines, in all possibilities, only you.
And changes the script, and they change the future together. Both mentors of the characters reflect their ideals clearly. Jayce, a man of Piltover, his mentor is one of the founders of Piltover. Heimerdinger is a non-human who has lived for hundreds of years, which would seem very magical in of itself, but it's not just his age that makes Heimerdinger reflective of magic. He has seen with his own eyes what the Arcane can do.
Enough!
The lives it's destroyed, the cities it's burned, the worlds it's ruined, but also the lives it's saved. The mutation must survive. It's a recurring theme for this section of the story, the mutation being the hex core within Viktor that changes and changes. It must survive so Viktor can, and Viktor understands now when what seems is all too late. Unlike Heimerdinger, Singed isn't hundreds of years old. He hasn't seen the power of the Arcane like he has. He has only known science, and he thinks it's the best course for our survival. He's one of the best interpretations of what a war scientist would be I have ever seen. Doing anything, no matter the cost, no matter how inhumane these tests are to assure the survival of the human race. But more importantly, his daughter. He's doing it out of love. Don't worry about that. Nothing broke. Don't worry. I didn't break a mirror. It's fine. Enlightened Viktor, as I'll call him, uses terms like glorious evolution, and evolution is a key word within science, so even in this godlike state, Viktor is still aware and clinging to science. And Viktor's goal here is to eradicate the part of us that makes life worth living, that makes us human, that makes life magical. Our empathy, our rage, our sadness, joy, hope, our humanity. Something Viktor lost in order to fulfill this goal. He wasn't the hopeful scientist who wanted to help society and unite Zorn with Piltover. He was obsessed with this outlandish goal of surpassing human limits, melding us with machines and stagnating the universe. If you take that away from us, how can anyone be good, bad, be unique, be human? Which is who Viktor was, and still is. A Zornite who was taken to study in Piltover, and who made something of himself despite his upbringing, and despite his disabilities, and despite his imperfections. To quote my boy Jayce, You were never broken, Viktor. There is beauty in imperfections. That one line saved the entire universe. And there is beauty in imperfections. Viktor is a man who changed the status quo twice. Once when he went to study in Piltover, and the second when he started curing people. Well, I say curing in very broad term. Did he heal people? Yes, and that's what he thought he was doing. But then he realised they were all part of a hive mind, his mind, the Hex mind. I think that in the end, Viktor is the bad guy, but it's a case of selfishness over selflessness, and it's something I'm going to touch on in a video that I'm going to be making later in the year, but it's the idea that our heroes are selfish. Viktor sees himself as a hero, a herald, but he's selfish. He wants to take away everyone's humanity to do it, just to, have him govern every human being so they're all controlled by him? Where's the freedom in that? Jayce, despite him being a sexy mountain of a man, is selfish. The entire reason we're at this point of the story is because Jayce was obsessed with magic that saved his mother's life. He is obsessed with creating it to save more people, to be a renowned inventor for something that wasn't just a monotonous invention, but something that changed the game and revolutionized the world. He was selfish because we're only at this point of the story because he chased that obsession, ignored logic and reason when it was given to him, and didn't want his brother, who was already going to die. But we can sympathize with him because we are human, and human nature is to be selfish. The selfless act would have been to let him die, but Arcane is a show about people, not heroes and villains. People. People who triumph, people who lose, people who are flawed. The only guy that remotely breaks the mold here is my boy, Echo, the boy who shattered time! Now, to talk about Echo, he chose the selfless act. He could have chosen to stay in the other universe where everything was perfect, and he could have lived his life with powder and probably had some more blue-haired babies, but it wasn't the right thing to do, even if he wanted to, because he knew he wouldn't be able to live with himself if he did. The only reason we're at this part of the story was not only everything that Jayce and Viktor did, but because Echo slipped up. Echo was human. He hesitated on that bridge when beating Jinx. He hesitated because he saw his old friend, not the villain she had become now, his one and only love, and felt that what he was doing was wrong. They both gave in to their anger, and look where that got them. From childhood friends to enemies trying to kill each other. It's not just. But that hesitation is what caused Jinx to achieve her height of villainy. Everyone has a fault to play in this story, whether it's Vander's inciting incident leading to the revolution that killed Jinx and Vi's parents, which he holds immense guilt for, Vi losing her shit and leaving Powder, Silco and Vander's history with attempted murder of each other. It goes on and on, because to write a true masterpiece, you have to acknowledge that humanity is flawed. And that's okay. It's okay to take care of yourself. It's okay to prioritize yourself, to think of yourself, your well-being, your future, your career before others, just like our favourite characters do. Because without the persistence of exploring, there can be no progress.